Okay, I don't know if I'm live or not. Mm, the stream is showing up as unstable. Okay, now it is showing as excellent. All right. Okay, so cool. Welcome to the stream, guys. So this will be one of those streams where we'll be trying to, not mostly, I will be trying to figure out one thing, one question, specific question. All right. So it will be a thinking out loud session. And excuse me. Okay, so should I just start? I don't know. So let me create a note first. Okay, what should I give the name? Skill programming. Yeah, learn programming. Learn. Alright, so should I wait for people to come? I don't know. Okay, I don't know if I should wait for people to come, one or two people to join. Let me do some housekeeping stuff. All right, fuck it. Let me just start. So, what's the goal? The goal is, the goal for stream, not the goal for stream, the goal behind, what's my goal? To get good at, should I be a little more specific? To get good at programming. Okay, it seems good enough. To get good at programming. That's the goal. I don't know if the text is visible or not. Let me make it big. Okay, I think this is big enough. Hopefully. Am I audible? Yeah, okay, mic is working just fine. To get good at programming. So that's the goal for this stream, and that's my goal as well. So yeah, the meta goal. It's what I want to discuss or just figure it out how to get good at programming. Right, so this is the goal. Okay, what is the goal? Goal is a situation. Goal is something where we have a situation A, situation B, and we want to move from situation A to situation B. So here the situation A is I'm not good at programming, and situation B is I'm good at programming. So we need to figure out how to bridge this gap and how to move from situation A to situation B. So that's what we are going to discuss. Okay, let's start. How to get good at programming. Hmm. Okay, so the key questions are, first of all, how to learn any skill. That's one of the question. And what is programming? Yeah, and we need to know what we are trying to learn, right? We need to get clear about it. And that's the third question. Will this work? Yeah, I will add some more question later on. So these two are enough. What is programming and how to learn any skill? Skill. What is programming? Okay, so let's try to figure out the question. What is programming? I mean, so let's use the definition that George Hertz used in one of his stream. So, and that's programming anyway. Programming is creating a system which takes input and gives back output, right? So let's say we have let's take an example, shall we? For example, let's say, I don't know, a system a text editor here. Let's take a text editor as one of the example. A text editor is a kind of a system, right? So in case of text editor, what are the inputs? Okay, so in case of a text editor, the input is the keys that we type, right? I mean, it is a quite complicated system, so it can take a number of inputs, but one of the inputs, I mean, what is a text editor anyway? I mean, what's the big picture of a text editor? You can open up a file, you can create a new file, you can edit a file. So Vim is one of the text editor. So okay. Okay, let's say one input is what we type on the keyboard, right? That is it's one of the inputs to a text editor, right? What we type on the keyboard. There are many other kinds of people. And what will be the system? Okay, let's I mean, we can go deep, but let's see. There are different layers to a text editor, but what we type on the keyboard gets, converted to, I mean, it first of all identifies what we typed, and operating system gives back the input that the user typed in form of, I don't know, or in whatever form, but it takes. So it has, I don't know, kind of a event listener or something which listens for keyboard input. So system might be one of the component of system might be listen for keyboard input events, right? That's one of the system of this particular task. We're taking a sub component and converting it into a this formula of input, system, and output. So listens for keyboard events, input events, right? What will be the output in this case? Output is just display the characters. Let's just call them characters. Characters. Characters in on the display in form of on the display using font, I don't know, font library, font and display library, display library. So this is a very dumb example. Hey Datadev, how are you? So I'm going to do something different today during this time. I'm trying to figure out how to get good at programming, so I thought it will be a good stream to figure it out on stream, basically. What's going on here? What the hell? Why is this messed up? One minute, okay. So for some reason the upper part is cutting off. I don't know why. The hell with it. Let me close it up and open it up again. Okay, it seems good. Stream is fine. Yeah, stream is fine, but I mean the web page was messing up. Okay, it is fine now. So yeah, so the plan for this stream is to figure out a way to get good at programming. So these are the quick questions that I figured out to ask how to learn any skill and what is programming. So I was discussing or maybe just thinking out what is programming. So I just use the basic definition that programming is just creating a system which takes input and gives back output, right? So I took a text editor as an example, and the input to the text editor is what we type on the keyboard, right? And the system is basically, I don't know, a function which listens for keyboard input events. And okay, so listen for keyboard events and display it. And what will be the output? The output will be characters on the display. Okay. Right, so this is basically what a program is. Program is input and system. Yeah. So if this is a program, and as a programmer, what we do is we figure out what are the inputs and what are the outputs, and based on these inputs and outputs, we figure out a system, right? So I don't know, as a programmer, what are the tasks of a programmer? Let's say tasks of a programmer. The fuck? Can you hear the music from behind? The music of a piano? Tell me if it is disturbing or yes. Okay. So my father is playing his piano, so let me close the door. Give me a second. All right. How about now? Yeah. All right. So yeah, I was saying, what are the tasks of a programmer? Programmer has, a programmer takes inputs and outputs. First task is to figure out what are the inputs and outputs. Yeah, I'll tell him. Sure. Figure out what are the inputs. What are the inputs? Okay. And outputs. So that is one of the tasks. Figure out what are the inputs and outputs. Second, what's the second task? Let's see. Needs to create a system, right? Design. First of all, he will need to design the architecture, a big picture of the architecture of the system. Figure out. Oh, nice. Congratulations. Okay, design the architecture of the system. That is one of the tasks. After that, yeah, figure out the tools, or figure 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. open everything. Yeah, it is same here as well. 6 a.m. to, I don't know, 6 p.m. It is more than 6 p.m. time. Maybe it is 8 p.m. or something, but yeah, I mean, not all the shops are open, just regular, essentials. Right, so figure out the tools and technologies to use to create the system. So let's say in this case, when we took an example of a text editor, the tools will be an IDE can be a tool. It is one of a tool. IDE, version control system, version Git, that is Git, version control system. Okay, and what else? I mean, in case of web application, we have server as one of the tools. I mean, I don't know if it is a tool or not. But yeah, IDE version control system. What else? Mm, okay, we'll add some more later. Tools and technologies. Yeah, so in case of technologies, what we really mean by technologies is a programming language. That's the main technology. Programming language. What else do we have as a technology? A database to store. I don't know. Do we even need a database for text editor? Nah. So database. Yeah, let's just keep it as a just an example. So let's also add hosting platform as a tool. Database. That's one of the technology. What else? What else we have as a technology? Mm, so what are technologies? I mean, tools and technologies are kind of the same thing, isn't it? Yeah, so let's merge this and give it a just a single name. Yeah, libraries. So let's put all of this in a single umbrella, right? Programming language. So yeah, so libraries. Okay, so after we have figured out the programming language, library is one of those things, because if we are, say for example, if we are doing machine learning, then we need to figure out, after we have figured out that we are going to create a model in Python, say, then we will have to figure out a library. So we might use PyTorch or TensorFlow or something else. So yeah, these are the libraries. Tools. So these are the tools. So programming language is one of the most important tool, I think, for programming. Everything else is just secondary. I mean, IDE, version control system, hosting platform, those things don't really matter, but programming language, yeah. So I think I'm going too much deep. Let's not get too much deep into program, because that's not the goal. We need to figure out what is programming, so that we can figure out a way to learn it in a most efficient way. Right, so these are the tasks of a programmer. Figure out what are the inputs and output, design the architecture, figure out the tools, technologies to create. Okay, so after he or she has figured out these 3 steps, done 3 steps, what else? I mean, after that, it just comes down to doing the stuff, right? Just creating the system. So the 4th step is build the system. Market research. No, but market research is more of a, I don't know. Market research is when you are trying to create a startup. So when you want to make sure that what you are building is, useful for people, but that's not really what we are trying to figure out today, because I mean, we're just trying to figure out how to get good at programming. So it doesn't matter what kind of programs we create. It doesn't have to be a useful one. We can create a stupid program as long as we learn how to create programs through that project. There are only 2 things our mind can do. Yeah, what's that? Yeah, problem solving is more of a meta kind of skills. So that's one of the skills. So yeah, I will mention it later, but I mean, I was talking about the specific tasks of a programmer that he has to do while creating a program, you know. So yeah, so I think the fourth step is building the system. Build the system. Come on. Build the system. I should say, I mean, there are different ways to build a system. So there are different methodologies in software engineering to, you know, tackle the building of the system. So I don't know. Let's not get into those kind of that territory right now. Let's keep it simple. So build the system, test it, and debug if it has bugs. Good. Look at the past, make a copy and visualize a product review something. What do you mean by that? Look at the past. Okay, so you mean how to create a product in that way, right? So let's say, let me see if you, what you mean by this or not. So you mean look at the past. So are you saying that you know, pick a project that's been built already, like say Twitter, and visualize the product what Twitter has and reverse engineer. I mean, I'm trying to figure out what you mean by this. Look at the past and visualize the code. Maybe you're trying to think it in terms of a useful product like a startup or something. I don't know. Okay, so I think this covers all the tasks. I mean, it doesn't cover all the tasks, but it mentions the big picture or the big task that a programmer needs to do. Okay, let's get to. So now we have figured out what is programming and what are the tasks of a programmer. Take bird's flight to build a plane and yeah. So I think what you're trying to say is, I mean, you're trying to describe creativity basically, right? So I mean, I'm not trying to discuss creativity, but because we can build it doesn't have to be a creative product. You can just, you know, build something that has been done already or make a simple stupid program. So yeah, but I get what you are trying to say and will think about it. I have thought about this point as well, or how to create. I mean, let me digress a bit. So yeah, creativity is take a bird's flight to build a plane, right? So I think that creativity is basically, you know, so that's a tool, particular tool, which works in a certain kind of way. So let's say there's a stone, and stone is sharp, right? It is sharp. So the property of sharpness is such that if you uh, push it towards you know, soft surface like a skin, it will cut the skin. So that is the I don't know, the byproduct of the sharpness of that hard object. So creativity is figuring out that property. So this is the property, and you know, creating into a tool for cutting, you know, like say for hunter gatherers, they use that sharp tool as a weapon too. So they figure out a use case for this particular property of a hard object to, let's say, kill a animal, right? So That is kind of I mean, yeah, that was an invention. So that's basically what invention is. Taking a how do I put it concretely? Taking a property of something which is already in nature and using it for different purpose. So, and creativity is mostly, combining different ideas. So let's take another example for creativity. Um, so see, let's take a wind turbine. Is it called a wind turbine or a windmill? So wind has a property that it blows, right? And generator is such that when we rotate the generator, I mean, I'm just very stupidly explaining it based on my limited understanding of it. So how do we generate electricity using a generator? We have to rotate the whatever it is, right? The system, the generator. So we figured out a way. So wind blows like this. So figure out a way to use the harness the power of wind and turn it into a, turn the fan, and we convert the I don't know what energy is called, wind energy into mechanical energy and mechanical energy into electricity. So yeah, bouncing ideas are getting, yeah. Doing programming every day, joining the community. Yeah. So that was my take on creativity. I mean, I have a lot of things to say about it because I have thought about it a lot. And we'll have a stream about this particular topic sometime. It's a good thing. I mean, it's what we need as a programmer as well. So it's good. This things creating stupid programs is good for when you are trying to learn programming. But that's basically my goal anyway. So my you can say the final goal of mine is not to get good at programming. It doesn't make sense. What would you do with just programming? I mean, yeah, you can get a job and that's good, but my final goal is to create a useful product using programming. So code is powerful, but it doesn't make, I mean, you can create a very shitty product which no one uses. What's the use of that? So a good programmer, according to me, is one who creates a product which people uses, I mean, which is useful. So that's where the role of creativity comes, I think. How to get good at programming? Yeah, doing programming every day, joining. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to figure out. I mean, trying to figure out a concrete pathway. Doing programming every day and joining a community. So yeah, doing programming every day basically is practicing the skill, right? So I think it will come, this point will come when we try to discuss this, how to learn any skill. So practice is the key element of learning a skill. Smart goals, yeah, exactly. So that is good. I mean, smart goals, one of the key things about smart goals is that it shouldn't be vague goals, right? So getting good at programming is a vague goal. I mean, what is programming? Getting good at programming, what do you mean by that? But if you say what could be a smart goal? So smart goal can be, I want to build, I don't know, a web application which is a social network web application, right? So I think that is the SMART goal. Yeah, I know about this acronym SMART. It is something like specific, measurable, something like that, right? Smart, specific, measurable, actionable, realistic, and timer. Yeah. So the most important thing is it has to be a specific goal. I mean, So right now the goal is to get good at programming. If we are not specific about it, we can't figure out a way. Also include money. So that comes into the question of motivation. Money, include money. So I mean, I have some different opinions about it. So money is one kind of, motivation. It is what's the specific word? Accountability, right? Accountability. So what is our usual, tendency as a human is, I mean, my tendency as well, that we don't do anything just for the heck of it. I mean, it has to provide something. I'm not sure if it is essential or not, because as I said, I have different opinions about it, but yeah, it is essential in one way. So let me organize my thoughts regarding it. Accountability. Let's keep it as one question. And should the question how to keep yourself motivated, yeah, while learning. So in that this point of money might come up, how to keep yourself motivated. So if you are going through, a school, so that's where this point comes up. If you are going through a traditional computer science program, so you might think that you are learning programming, but I don't think that is the case. You don't learn programming like that just by going through, the traditional program with computer science. You have to constantly practice it. You have to build projects. Yeah, exactly. You have to build projects. So that's not the main focus of this traditional computer science education. So what they really, so they try to, impart knowledge regarding how a computer works, what is programming. I mean, yeah, they might give you projects to work on and so on, but that focus is 20%, not 20%. I mean, it depends on the particular colleges or university, but mostly, I mean, at least in India, 20% or 10% focus is on building things, and 90% focus is, theoretical aspect of it. So I think it should be the other way around. I mean, theory is definitely necessary, but it should be like 20% or 30% theory. So for theory, you might read books, read blogs, yeah, read books, blogs, watch some YouTube tutorials, crash courses regarding a new language that you are learning or so on. So that is the theoretical aspect of it. And in the practical aspect, we have building projects, doing programming challenges, and those are the kind of things that you do for the practical aspect of programming. And that's the most important thing. I mean, this thing can be, even at some extent, up to some extent, you can even ignore this. I mean, you still need some information. You need some information, like you can't program if you don't even know what a variable is or what a loop is. So you need some basics. It's like if you want to use if you want to cut something, you at least have to know that a scissor exists. A scissor has a role of cutting. Scissor as a tool exists, and you have to hold it like this using your fingers, and you have to press it like this and so on. So that's the basic information that you need, and after that you just cut it. So that's the thing. So that's also where this I don't know, where project based learning, or so let me write it down, how to learn any skill. So how to learning skill. Let's talk about the approaches, right? Approaches. So there is project-based approach. No, let me be top. Yeah, exactly. That was what I was going to write down. Top-down approach and bottom-up approach. I always get these two things, confused. So let me see. I think bottom up is starting from the fundamentals, and top down is starting with abstractions, you can say. There's also this thing where, learning. There's two kinds of learning as well. Two kinds of, and it messes up. It combines very nicely with these two approaches as well. So two kinds of learning. There is just in time learning, and we have just in case learning. So what do I mean by just in time learning? So let's say, so in just in time learning, you have a specific task. We have a specific task or a goal. So for example, let's say the goal is, let me take a super simple example. When did I use? Okay, let's take Vim as an example. I want to use Vim to future visual. Future visual. Wait, I think I might have confused two, or maybe you have confused it. I don't know. I mean, let me Google it out. I always have to Google these two things, even though I have thought about it a lot. Top down and bottom up approach of learning. Why do they have this kind of, super smart definition? Why can't they just put it in simple words? What the fuck do you mean by explicit knowledge? And I mean, I have an idea what it means, but why not keep it super simple? Theoretical background, two ideas of two systems, implicit and explicit. This is utter crap. Search another. Maybe. Yeah, it confuses more. So I hate this kind of definitions. So I was trying to figure out what a dividend and a divisor is in a division, basically. So I had to hop through two blog posts to get a good definition. I mean, why can't you just say that whatever is on the top numerator is a dividend and in the denominator is the divisor? They add much more complicated stuff, and it's complicated. The top-down approach here. The goal is to learn by creating significant pieces of it. Yeah, so I think this is good enough. Top-down approach is goal is to learn by creating significant pieces of your software. Yeah, most self-directed learners take the top-down approach. So as a self-directed learner myself, I have grown to like this approach, top down. I mean, usually in the in the traditional education system, they teach the bottom up approach, is to learn all the fundamental concepts of programming. Yeah, so this is about programming, so this is good. So I think most of the programmers think about these two topics a lot, bottom up and top down approach of, I mean, it fits nicely for learning programming. I think this is a good blog post. I'll check it out later. So yeah, I know. So bottom up approach is, bottom, what is it? So let's say it is like a and concept starts from bottom, like say that are fundamental or the basis of something. So let's say for programming, there are the fundamentals are, I don't know, maybe variables and the concepts of programming, variables, loops, and so on. Then there's what could be another fundamental skill? Yeah, problem solving, algorithm making, and writing pseudocode, and so on. So mostly the bottom up approach is trying to separate all of this individual things and try to learn it in a compartmentalized box. Let's say first learn what is a programming language, first learn the syntax of a particular programming language. So what are the loops, what are the variables, what is I don't know, a function, and so on. Second thing could be another thing, I don't know. Yeah, so how a program, how do we compile a program if it is written in a compiled language? I mean, what is a compiled language, and so on. So that is kind of a bottom-up approach where you focus more on theoretical aspect of it. Maybe not exactly theoretical. I mean, you might do some basic tasks related to that particular programming. You might have question and answers, or maybe you have specific tasks like say print hello world. So that is kind of a bottom-up approach, but not a bottom-up approach. Yeah, so two kinds of programming. Yeah, so I think two kinds. Just-in-time learning is, I think, mostly top-down approach anyway, where we have a specific task or a goal, right? So let's say the task is I want to use Vim to create I don't know, a Python script. So let's say I don't know Vim. I've never used Vim, right? And I want to Indian shit. So what's that? Indians I'm not getting what you're trying to say. Indians shit somehow in time. I don't know what you mean by that. So yeah, JIT, just in time. Not JIT. I mean, I don't know what you mean by Indians have shit or somehow in time. Maybe you can elaborate it. So let's say, okay, so I have a specific task. I want to use Vim to create a Python script, right? So I've not used Vim before, let's say, and I don't really know how to open Vim, or so it depends. I mean, it depends on where you are exactly. So if you have basic terminal skills, so let's assume that a function when I have this specific goal, I already have some terminal skills. So first, if this is the goal, so the learning process will look like this. First, I will have to figure out how to open Vim, right? So yeah, industry, if you by industry you mean in education system, then I definitely agree 100%. They are more into just in case learning, never in time. So when you go into the real market or the industry, that's where basically just in time learning happens anyway, right? We can talk about it. So these are the steps. So I have to figure out how to open Vim. So see, I have a specific task, a goal, and now I need to move towards this goal. So I know exactly what I need to learn. So I need to learn how to open Vim, right? So what I do is just how to, I don't know, how to open Vim in terminal. I just Google it out. As simple as that, right? How to open Vim in terminal. Yeah, so I go to, mostly we hop on to Stack Overflow. What the hell is this? Okay, so I find this kind of, you know, description, which so I learned that to open up Vim you have to type Vim. You can either type Vim, it will open up a, you know, unnamed file, or if I want to create a file and give a name to it as well, we can do Vim this. So I've learned something, right? I have learned that how to open up a file with name or without name using Vim. So this is basically what just in time learning is. Yeah, Vim comes pre-installed. So yeah, this thing you will figure out. So when you say I want to use Vim, so if you are using Windows, let's say, then your first task will be, I don't think Windows has, no, I don't, Windows doesn't have Vim, right? So I don't know, if you use WSL you might have it, but so let's say first, if those, in that case, if you are using Windows, your first task will be to figure out how to install Vim in Windows. That will be your first task, right? Vim not install, yeah, it won't be mostly. But if you are using Linux, it will be mostly, it is installed by default for sure. Okay, how to open up Vim, that will be my first task. And I just Google it out and I got the specific command, and you can say that I learned this just in time, right? You have what Vim? What do I mean by that? The basic Vim, which comes pre-installed with Ubuntu. Yeah, so version and time, I don't know. Whoa, why do I have two windows open? What the heck? What the hell is this? I have two windows. Let me kill this one. Whoops. Oh yeah, Linux attach version FD. Thank God I didn't. So let me check what version I have. Then version. Ooh, what the hell is this? It's 8.1. Vim improved. It is 8.1. All right, so yeah, so if I have figured out how to open Vim, so my second task will be, Vim is rather complicated, so I think I will have to first, know how to type into Vim. So I'll get to know that Vim is a different kind of editor. How to close Vim, yeah, that will come, I don't know. That is kind of, it depends on if you want to close it directly when you. So see, there are two things we can do here. We can watch a specific, 2 minutes video which shows us the basic of, that how to open Vim, how to get into Vim and get into insert mode. Let it Vim as insert mode and normal mode. What is an insert mode? What is a normal mode? How to switch between those two modes, how to edit a file. We have to, and to edit a file, we have to get into insert. We might, so that's where, you know, crash courses and tutorials help. So now that you have a specific task or goal, you know exactly what you want to achieve. So in that case, it will help if you know, watch just a 5-minute video or something which tells you the basics of how to use Vim, how to open, how to close, how to get into what kind of modes it has. You can, I mean, you can have you can approach it that way, or you can even, yeah, commands, or you can just you know, just figure it out yourself, like just play around with it. So let's say next task is how do I type in Vim. So maybe I will just Google this again. So let's see what comes up. How do I type in Vim? How do I type in Vim? I think DuckDuckGo is a very shitty browser for this kind of learning. It never gives me the specific answers that I'm looking for. Google is much better. See, this is the kind of thing that I'm looking for. Open up a file, type I to get into insert mode so that you can start. So see, just at the first, second and third line, I have got the answer for what I was looking for, that how do I type into Vim. So to type into Vim, I have to get into insert mode and then type. So that was easy. I mean, Google is good in that case, and DuckDuckGo never gives us this kind of, you know, specific answers. Now I got this answer. So what, I just start typing. Now let's say I have edited the file and now I want to save it. I just Google how to save, how to close, and so on. So you get the idea, right? What is just-in-time learning? I mean, the task or a goal can be a big one, or it can be small goal or a big task. Like, let's say I want to build a social network web application, right? So this is a big project. I mean, it helps if you have worked on some basic programming projects before. If you haven't, then also it depends. I mean, how much you know, you are good, how much you are willing to play around with uncertainty, how much I mean, mostly what happens is when you don't know what to do, you don't know how to do it, most people get overwhelmed easily, like, oh, I won't be able to create a social network, I don't know how to do. So that is one mindset. So if you have that kind of mindset, then it's better if you don't jump into big project directly. But there are other people as well who have this kind of mindset where they say, yeah, I don't know how to do it, but I will figure it out. So if you have this kind of mindset, then it's okay if you jump into something which you don't already know how to do, right? So, and you figure out how, I mean, that is exact approach I used, so I can tell it from experience. You are learning on a, you know, booster. So when I was trying to build my first ever web application, this one, Remote Learners, I used this approach, just-in-time learning, and I never built this kind of big project before, and I got into it. I mean, yeah, I watched some crash course tutorials and so on. I did thought about it. I did watch some JavaScript tutorials and so on. But when it came time to building it, I just said, let's fuck it. I'm just going to figure out as I build. So, and that's exactly what I did, because, you know, when I was trying to build this project, I had to, I had to build a database. I needed to use a database, right? So before creating this web application, I had never used a database for a specific project, and the database I planned on, that I decided to use, was also very much new to me. But still, I got into it, and I just said I'll just figure it out. So if that is the case where you have a goal or a project that you don't yet know how to do fully, what you do basically, and that's what I did for this project, you chop it into smaller subcomponents. So let's say for this web application, what I did was I just say, what do I need to what kind of functionality do I need for this web application. Yeah, so I said I want some login and sign up functionality, right? And also I wanted to have a an application where people can chat with each other and create channels. So that's why I selected Slack for the community aspect of it. And then I said, okay, so if I'm going to use Slack for the chatting system, so I was not going to create a whole chatting system from scratch. Why to create a chatting system from scratch if I can use this already built project, right? So I just decided on using Slack, and I said, okay, so if I'm going to use Slack and people will have to sign up to Slack, why not use Slack for the so at that point I knew that this kind of we have this kind of functionality where we can sign up with Google, sign up with Facebook. So I say, let me figure out if Slack has same functionality or not. This kind of right now, sign in with Slack. So I googled it, and yeah, they had functionality. So I said, okay, so first let me figure out how to create a login mechanism, sign in mechanism using Slack. So I dived deeper into, it was much complicated because I had to wrap my mind around what is OAuth authentication, it is quite a complicated flow, because you have to pass your credential, it gives you back the token, and so on and on. What are your future plans, projects? So yeah, see, after I have figured out how to get good at programming, that's what I was going to think about. But yeah, I have some projects in my mind. So first one will be no, that's why I have not thought about projects yet. I've not completed Nento Tetris, and I think it will take some time to complete Nento Tetris. So one good idea, I thought that why not recreate this project. So I created this project I think in 2018 I created this project. So most of the concepts are blurry right now. I've not touched or created any other web application. I did play around with other web applications, but I've not created a full web application after that. This was my good enough project. So one of the project idea that I was thinking about was, why not recreate this app in Python. So use Python for the backend. So maybe use Django as a framework, and use PostgreSQL for the the database. So I used MongoDB, which is a NoSQL document-based database, and I was thinking I was planning on learning PostgreSQL. So why not build? So this project idea is for web application part, which I'm not super interested in. Web applications, I'm not super pro, but why I want to learn this and build a portfolio is because it's very easier to get web developer job or a backend. So I'm not super interested in front end part, but I can work with backend part. I don't hate it as much as I hate front end. So that's why I say it. Let's just recreate this thing in Python Django. And the other kind of projects that I want to work on are, this kind of projects where I build a shell. So the shell that I'm using is this one, GSH. So what is a shell? Let me give you a specific. What is a shell? Linux, yes. Linux shell. A shell is an interactive interface that allows user to execute other commands and directives in Linux. Yeah, so that was one of the things I was thinking of working on. So yeah, one kind of projects are web application, and other kind of projects are low level stuff like shell programming, shell, or maybe I don't know, an emulator or something, and maybe build a database from scratch. Those were the things I was thinking about, and I also want to learn C++. So that's where the I don't know, the low level programming comes. And for the web applications, I think I will just end up using Python for the backend. I don't plan on going back to JavaScript. Okay. Okay, so that explains, I think we were trying to discuss what is just-in-time learning. So we know what is just-in-time learning. And if I say a few things about just-in-case learning, it is like, just in case, let's say, watching tutorials is kind of just-in-time learning. If you are, so what kind of tutorials I'm talking about? Watching a tutorial like learn C++ within 4 hours. So if you watch a tutorial video like this one, C++ within 4 hours, what they are going to teach you basically is what is the syntax of the C++ looks like. How do you create a for loop? How do you create a while loop? How do you create variables? How do write functions in C++? How do you create classes? How do you, I don't know, create vectors and so on. So I think this is kind of a just in case learning, because it's not like you are going to use each and every syntax right after you watch this tutorial. I mean, it depends. If you have a specific project in mind and therefore you are learning C++, then it's good. But if you don't have any project in mind and you just, I'm just going to learn C++, and you don't know why, you don't have any project idea, then it falls into the category of just in case learning, and it's not effective because you will just forget the syntax. I mean, it won't get into your brain, so to say. Okay, I'll be back in a minute. I got a piece. Thanks for pointing that out, Silence, and welcome to the stream. I would have gone on blabbering about it. Thanks for pointing it out. Okay, so what did I say? Yeah, so two kinds of learning, just in time learning. Yeah, hello, welcome to the stream again. Silence. So we are trying to figure out how to get good at programming, and these are the key questions that I'm trying to ask: how to learn any skill, what is programming, and how to keep yourself motivated while learning. And I discussed what is programming. So programming is just creating a system which takes input and gives back output, right? So that is programming, and I took text editor as an example, where the input is what we type on the keyboard, system is listen for the keyboard input events and display using display library. So that is one of the tasks of this text editor system, and the output is this character display characters. Okay, so that's what a system or a program is. And yeah, these are the tasks that a programmer needs to do to create a system. And after that, I was discussing about how to learn any skill and what are the two kinds of approaches: top-down approach and bottom-up approach, and two kinds of learning: just-in-time learning and just-in-case learning. I mean, these four things are, very hugely correlated, or you can say even that they're the same things. So just-in-time learning is just top-down approach anyway, I think. Right, so I took this example for just-in-time learning. So in just-in-time learning, we have a specific task or a code. Let's say, for example, I want to use Vim to create a Python script, right? So when I took this example, I was assuming that I don't have any knowledge of Vim. I have not used Vim before. So I have a concrete goal that this is what I want to achieve. So now, how do I achieve that? So the first step will be, I just ask how to open Vim. Yeah, so I just Google it out, how to open Vim, and I get the command. Okay, that's one thing. And after that, I ask how do I type in Vim. So I Google it out again, and I get the answer that yeah, you have to get into insert mode. So there are two kinds of mode: you insert mode and normal mode. You get into insert mode by pressing I, and then you type, and so on. So that is what just-in-time learning is. And yeah, so just-in-case learning, now let's think about it. So I say that watching a tutorial like learn C++ within 4 hours, so that is kind of a just-in-case learning. If you don't have a specific project in mind, that what you want to create using C++. So C++ is a tool, but what actually do you want to create? So if you're just learning tool for the heck of it, I think Elon Musk said it very nicely. So in one of his interviews, he said that education teaches us that what the approach that education system takes is that they teach you the tools. So if you take a woodworking workshop, he gave this example. They say, okay, these are the different kind of hammers, these are the different kind of tools, when to use this hammer, when to use this hammer. So that is kind of a just-in-case learning, because you don't exactly have a project in mind or a task in mind where you have to use that particular hammer. But the contrast in that case, I mean, the just-in-time learning for that thing is, let's say I want to open up this. So we took the example of how to open up this car. I want to see how the car works under the hood, right? So he says, okay, so need to open up the engine. So now how do I open up the engine? Yeah, so I need I don't know what it's called. Is it called wrench or something? I don't know. Maybe I think it is called wrench. So figure out what tool to use. I need a wrench. Okay, so this is where I need to use a wrench. What kind of wrench and what size? So what exactly is happening is you are learning about the tool, right? But not in a compartmentalized, you know, compartmentalized, or I can say boxed context. You have a specific context, like where to use this tool. So the learning that happens in that case is concrete. I mean, it will stick into your mind. But let's say if I'm just learning for the heck of it, that's the approach that education system teaches us basically. I mean, you just forget 90% or 99% of the things if you don't use it. So yeah, that's my rant about just in case learning. Um, yeah, so I can add one point. Traditional education system uses or follows just in case learning. Okay, so if this are the two kinds of approaches you can take. See, there's also one hybrid approach, right? So I'm not saying that bottom-up approach is worst approach or you should never use it, but there's a hybrid approach, and that's mostly what I use. Hybrid approach. So what is the hybrid approach then? And I think it is the best approach to learn programming. Let's discuss it. What is the hybrid approach? You start with learning some essential, yeah, I think this is the key thing. Essential fundamental let's take programming as the example. So that's what we are trying to discuss. Start with learning some essential fundamentals of programming. So you figure out what is programming. You learn, I don't know, variables, loops, and functions. And you don't waste a lot of time in this phase where you are just, so what in this phase, what we do basically is just watch maybe, a crash course on programming. I mean, you can do a course as well. So I think this one, CS50, CS50 or something. It's a good course. I mean, I'm not very pro on courses like this, but it's a good one. I mean, you don't have to wait until you complete the whole course, but it gives us the fundamentals like this one, variable, loops, and function, I think. Yeah, so it teaches us how to think algorithmically. So I think these are the fundamentals of programming: how to think algorithmically, solve programming problems, concepts like abstraction, algorithm, data structure. Okay. So, and this is how much long is this? 20 to 30, 10 to 20 hours per week, 11 weeks. I mean, I don't know, we don't have to wait until we complete this course for 11 weeks, but yeah, we can take this course and maybe we can do a no, I just created this note right now only, so don't write my progress or something. I'm just thinking it out loud and just displaying the points that I'm trying to think. So usually how I think is I don't make notes. I just think about it. I just walk and think and thinking, just use my mind. But for stream, I think it is good to lay out the points, and I think this approach is good as well. Laying out all the points, it makes makes it clear, make the points clear. I'm sure you have thought about these things a lot as well, right? How to get I don't know, maybe you might have thought about how to, what kind of things should I learn. That's what you were saying to me in your sims, right? Like you don't exactly know what you want to create or what you want to build or what you want to focus on. So that's what I'm trying to figure it out as well for myself, and I thought it will be good for other people as well, my thinking process. I'm not saying I'm a pro. I'm not saying this are the concrete things. I'm just laying out my thought process, and I'm just thinking out loud. I'm trying to create a good approach to learning programming which I can follow. Okay, so let's see. Hybrid approach. You watch some tutorials. You start with a bottom-up approach. You learn some fundamentals, but all the while you have a specific goal in mind. So let's say I want to learn programming, but it's not in a vacuum. I want to learn programming because of a specific goal. I want to create, let's say, a web application, a social network or something. So that is a specific goal. So that keeps me motivated as well. So I have one end goal. So that's where the hybrid approach works. So you have a goal that makes it top-down approach as well. So you learn enough so that you can start working on your goal, which is creating the project. Okay, let's say the goal is create a social network web app. So that is a specific goal project. Hybrid approach. Yeah. And once you learn enough, you start working on your project. We can do this parallelly as well, and yeah, meanwhile we can also read books on, let's say, data structures. I don't know, data structures, and I'll go and read books on specific language that you are trying to use. So let's say if I am trying to use Python, I read books on Python. I can read books, watch tutorials, do courses, all the bottom-up approach things. So you kind of mix and match top-down and bottom-up approach. And I think for the hybrid approach, the key thing is to know when to switch. And most of the self-learners who are trying to learn this thing, programming, by themselves, they have a hard time. I had if I tell you about my personal experience, I had a hard time knowing when to switch between, let's say, it's enough to, I have gathered enough information, now I should start working on my project. So it's very hard to draw this line, figure out when is the point where you should switch into doing projects and doing learning. And I think that is the key thing. And usually what happens is when they don't think about this thing, this habit is something you learn quickly. Yeah, it is. Yeah, definitely it is where we learn quickly. So it is kind of a middle between top down and bottom up. So bottom up is what usually the education system does. So yeah, I mean there is some information you know already. Yeah, so see, bottom up approach, I mean education system is teaching a bottom up approach, right? But there is practical stuff there as well. So but it's not that much. It depends on the universities, but mostly in India it is 10% practical stuff and 90% theoretical bottom up approach stuff. And top down approach is you don't have a freaking idea what programming is, and you just dive headfirst into creating a project. And I have seen that kind of people, who start creating those projects headfirst. They don't have, I mean, they might have watched some tutorials or videos what programming is, but they just have dive headfirst into it. So that is the extreme approach, and I think hybrid approach is in between both of these two things, where you also read books and do tutorials and courses, but also meanwhile you are doing the projects as well. And I think the ratio should be, so write it down. The ratio should be, let's say, 90%, 80% practice and 20% theory. Oh, I'm glad you got to know this. I mean, see, this approach is, I mean, when I dropped out, I had to figure out all these things because, to learn, it is very hard to self-learn or self-teach yourself things. So you have to know. So I think this skill is much more important. You can call it, meta learning skill. How to learn how to learn, learning how to learn. So when you try to learn how to learn, you have to think about this kind of approaches. You have to question the approaches that was taught by school, and because it is not the most efficient one, and you don't learn quickly there. Self-teaching. Yeah, I mean, you don't mind this while in school or working. No, I'm not. I'm neither in a school or nor working in the tech field currently. So yeah, that's that. I dropped out of computer engineering after second year, and I used to work as a front-end developer, but I don't have a tech job right now. So right now I'm just trying to create my portfolio and focusing on getting good at programming. So that's the goal behind this stream. So figure out how to get good at programming. And yeah, I don't mind any of you asking anything. It's awesome. I mean, you can ask anything to me. I mean, that's the reason behind why I do this streams. What kind of projects? Yeah, so I was thinking of, I don't really like front end that much. So it's not like I hate it 100%. Our computer interest. Yeah, so to talk about this projects and computer engineering interest, I don't really like front end that much, but I do like, I mean, I don't hate the back end part. So I mean, in context of web applications, right? So I was thinking that why not learn? I have done some web development before, so I created this in 2018, this web application. It is a good one. It was a good project. I mean, first ever good project of mine. Right, so I'll tell you about my projects and my interest. one of the interest is, let's say I focus on creating, backend, very backend heavy. What site is that? Yeah, this is the web application that I built in 2018 when I was trying to learn web development. It's my own web application. So yeah, I'm saying. So I'm thinking of focusing on two kind of projects. One, backend heavy projects. I mean specifically web application. And I think I will be mostly using Python and Django for the backend. Yeah, so that's where another thing. So backend, web application and backend. And another interest on mine, which I'm 100% sure about, is low level stuff like what I'm already doing. So creating compilers, OS, and so on. So that is really where I want to focus long term. I mean, that is my dream job, kind of. So I like backend, but if I will, I mean, I don't know. This is one of my hypotheses that I might like this kind of job. I might not like it. I don't know. I will see. But I think I'm sure, at least 90% sure that I do like low level things. Automation. Yeah, what kind of automation are you talking about? I mean, embedded level programming or stuff. So, but the thing about low level programming is that it is very hard to get to that kind of job. I mean, I don't know. I mean, not hard, but it is easier to get a web development job, and there are many web development jobs in the market, right? And it's easier to get a web development job than get a C++ jobs, let's say, which where you work with low level things. Yeah, I don't like front end as well. Damn you. Okay. Have you tried to create any front end application? So I think, see, why I say I don't like front end is maybe so what really happened is I used to work as a front end developer, and I used to work, for this guy, work for this agency which provided me projects that I had to create the front end for, and I was doing like 2 and 3 projects simultaneously, and I was doing it like 12 to 13 hours, and sometimes I was, because it was an agency, the timeline was very tightly packed, like I had to deliver much faster, and I was learning while I was building this. So what really happened is I think I burned out, and that's where I started hating front end. So I think that's one of the reason why I ended up hating front end, because I burned out, and I think I stopped doing web development or any programming for that matter after that phase when I was burnt out, because I lost I was doing programming late midnight, as I mean sometimes, once I recall it, I mean once I was doing programming till morning. So that's why I was burnt out, and I ended up hating it. I left it, and that was it for the front end part. And then after that I tried to, I'm familiar with SQL or R. No, I'm not familiar with R. So I think R is mostly used in data science. It is mostly used in data science related project. And about SQL, so I have not really worked with SQL, and that is one of my goals. So when I say I want to create a web application backend part, so I want to recreate this web application of mine in Django, and I'm going to use PostgreSQL, which is an SQL based database. There's also MySQL, but I want to learn Postgres. And for this project I used MongoDB, which is document based database, not really a SQL based database. You are a data science student. Yeah, so I did try to learn some machine learning stuff before. I did some deep learning a deep learning course, the Fast AI one. So that course is unique as well. So I think it is so easy to get a web development. It's game engine or something. Yeah, right. So that's the thing. It's very easy to get a web development job, but not many low level things you can do as project unless a game engine or something. Yeah, so that's another point, So I have seen most of the C++ developers that I've come across are mostly, working in the game development space. So they are either creating this game engines or they're creating games from scratch and those kind of things. I mean, yeah, there are other people that I've come across which who uses C++ for creating, compilers and other kind of things but it's very few, they are very rare. So I'm trying to find more low level things. Which streamers? Casey and Jonathan Blow. I don't know them. I mean, not watched that many streamers on Twitch. I might have seen their streams, I don't know. So Silence, if you want project ideas which are very low level, you should check out this repository. Yeah, okay, so they are low level developers, you mean, right? Casey and John. So in this repositories, they have ideas like build your own 3D renderer, augmented reality app or whatever it is, BitTorrent client, blockchain. So this repository contains very, very low level kind of project level ideas. Terminal emulator. Yeah, I think I know one of the guy. He streams on Twitch as well. I think his name, I don't know his name, but the terminal emulator that he's building is called Contour or something. He's a very good, he's a very skilled guy. I watched his stream and he's a very good guy. Skill is good. Yeah, Christian Papat or something. Yeah, I'm not. I think that's the guy. Yeah, that's his name. Which is easiest? What do you mean? I mean, out of what? You mean low level versus web application? Yeah, Christian Papat. I mean, see, this guy is Christian Papat, and there's this another guy that I showed you earlier, Silence, who's building Serenity OS. That Kling guy. What was his name? I always forget his name. Awesome Kling. Serenity OS repository. Yeah, wait, let me send the link. Oops. So this repository contains low level stuff. Okay, another repository that I really like is this one, project. Just uploaded a video saying it. Yeah, I have yet to watch that video, but I got the notification. Sure, you're welcome. I got the notification and I'll watch it later. He's going to work on, yeah, this one. I quit my job to focus on Serenity OS full time. So this guy, so the thing is with these guys, Andreas and Christian Papat and this kind of, so his story is something like this. He didn't even went to university, so he's also a self-taught developer. He learned everything on his own. So his story is like this, that he tried to learn C++ and he was learning C++, but he had to make this decision as well. So I mean, but he learned the programming way back in the 90s, I think, maybe in the 2000s. So at that time he thought that he didn't have a degree, right? So he thought that it's to get a job. He said it himself that it was harder to get a job for low level stuff, a C++ developer job. So he said, okay, so I'm going to, but it is easier to get a web development job. So he learned PHP because PHP was one of the top languages during that period. So he learned PHP and he got a job immediately. And meanwhile, he was working on low level projects. Like he was working, I forgot the name of the project that he was working on, but yeah, he was creating file systems and all of those kind of low level things. So once he was good enough with those things, and once he had he was working on open source projects as well. So he created a reputation for himself in the open source community, and after that he got some reputation. It was easier to get a low level job, but until then he was working in the web development space. He was doing web development using PHP and so on. So I'm also thinking of doing that approach as well, because I don't have a degree as well, and it's harder to get C++ job if you are a noob, you are a beginner. Yeah, it is inspiring. So and after that he switched to embedded level engineer. So embedded level engineer is basically who works with C++ or that kind of languages and create softwares like drivers for computers or embedded devices like fridge, air conditioner, and so on, all the low level kind of things, right? So he switched to that kind of role, and after that he ended up working at Apple as a working on a web engine. So web engine is basically what it is kind of a part of a web browser. So I think he was working on WebKit or something. So yeah, that's how he ended up working as a low level developer. But initially he also had to learn web development because he couldn't get a job, low level job initially. And that's the case with most of the low level developers. I mean, they start out as a web developer or something, game developer. Do you want a role at a company or start up something of your own? Yeah, so starting something of my own is one of my goal, and that is one of my goal, but it is kind of an uncertain path, right? I mean, so if you say something of my own, so see, right now he's working on his own OS, right? Serenity OS. So we can make something like that, and I think he's getting donations or something, and that way he's able to earn money, or maybe he has, I don't know. I mean, but that's one of the things that I can work on, like working on that kind of projects. And other kind of projects that I can work on which are useful for people, so people use, and if people use my products, then maybe I can figure out a way to get paid for it. Maybe have a donation model, or I don't know. I mean, there are different monetization models. So that is the dream of every developer, I think, to start to create a product which people use this, for which they get paid. But yeah, before I can figure out that kind of idea, I mean, that was one of my goal when I created this web application. I wanted to create a community, and I wanted to the long-term vision was I wanted to create a platform where people, I mean, I got some users as well. So right now it is blank and you can't see anything, but I had some users, and good number of users, and they were using this app as well. Automation. Yeah, so they were using this app, and but what happened is the website where I hosted my database, it changed its services and it moved to a different, I mean it got acquired, I think, and I lost the database and I lost all the users. Yeah, I think you need Node.js and Python. Automation as a service. Okay, yeah. Automation as a service. So you mean automation as in, let me think about it. Machine learning kind of thing? Do you mean that kind of automation? So I think, yeah, for that you will need Python, because you can't get away from Python if you're doing machine learning stuff. I mean, yeah, you can use JavaScript and R as well, but Python is kind of what people usually use. There are many libraries for those kind of machine learning stuff, production stuff. I don't know what you mean by automation. So where was I? Yeah, I was saying that that is one of my goal, but you can't rely on, ideas. I mean, the path is uncertain. I mean, you don't know if your idea is good enough. So meanwhile, I find such an idea and work on such an idea. I too want to get a job, right? And I mean, we can work on something as a side project as well, right? We can do a full-time job and work on something, during, maybe, I don't know, if I get a remote job, then I can allocate some different time for working on my own projects and working on the company's product and so on. So which put your name to get this projects on GitHub? Yeah, I did put this project, so let me show you. So most of my pinned repositories are this project's NetDetectors one, Jack compiler. So yeah, that's why it clearly says, displays that I want to work on low level stuff. That's why I have kept Jack compiler as the first one. Yeah, no, it's not that good at all. Mine is kind of a desert. Yeah, sure. I don't have that many good projects at all. That's what I'm trying to build right now. So that's where, getting a job comes. I mean, you don't have to learn how to use GitHub, but yeah, you do have to learn how to use Git. GitHub is just how do I say it? A remote repository. But yeah, you still need to learn Git. And you don't, I mean, you can watch a tutorial, 30 minutes tutorial, and you'll get the basic idea of what Git is, what version control is. But if I tell you honestly, I only know like 3 commands. I mean, you only need to know 3 commands, 3 or 4 commands to work with Git. You don't need to know much. I mean, I just recently only I learned how to create branches and work on branches. Before that, I was just using just a single branch. No, I was not even using Git for version control. I was just using it to push projects to remote repo. Tutorials are the worst. Yeah, that was we were discussing earlier. So when I was discussing the 2 kinds of approaches of learning, top down and bottom up. So if you are not planning to use the stuff that you are learning in the tutorials, then it's useless completely. But graphic card, I have NVIDIA GeForce 1920. So this is a laptop. It's not a desktop system. I'm using a laptop as my main machine. And it has NVIDIA GeForce 1920. I mean, it's I bought it in 2017, I guess. I bought this laptop. 16 gigs graphic card and RAM. Are you talking about RAM? So no, I have just 8 GB, 8 gigs of RAM and 2 gigs of graphic card GPU. And recently only I switched to SSD. So I previously I had a mechanical one, mechanical hard disk. They are called mechanical hard disk, right? I don't know. So I recently switched to SSD because my laptop was slowing down a hell lot. It was like hanging a lot. So I thought I couldn't install a new RAM into my system. I do have two slots, but both are, one is the soldered one. So I have 4 GB as soldered chip and one slot where I have 4 GB where I already have 4 GB. So I could buy, and the laptop I have supports only 12 gigs of RAM. So I could, and what would happen is if I wanted to upgrade my RAM, I would have to buy 8 gigs of RAM and install it into 4 gigs. So that would make 4 plus 8. But I found on the internet that if we use this kind of mismatch of sizes, RAM 4 and 8, it doesn't really work that good. So I think that there is a, I don't know what is called, dual mode or something. It doesn't work in dual mode. So yeah, so the conclusion was that it wouldn't help if I were to use a new RAM. So that the second thing I could do to speed up my laptop was to install a SSD, and it did speed up my computer. Now I can switch between apps a lot faster than before. Did anything in the Nintendo Tetris topics interest you learn more about? Yeah, so in the Nintendo Tetris, what it interested me is I want to learn about more. So if I talk about Nintendo Tetris course, it focuses on OS, but it doesn't teach you all the components of OS. Like it just has basic library, how to create basic libraries. But other than that, there are many more things in operating system, like system calls and memory management, and what else is there? Let me think about it. Multitasking and so on. So these things are not mentioned in the Nintendo Tetris course. So those things I want to learn more about, and I think I found a good book for that as well. So I'm going to learn this through this book, OS 3 easy pieces or something. What kind of laptop? It is an IdeaPad, Lenovo IdeaPad. Operating, yeah, this book. After research, I found out that this book is good for, it presents the concept of operating system in a nice intuitive sense. So I have started reading. Oh, you have? Good, that's nice. I read the first chapter. I read first few pages of it. It's a good book. You have to read very carefully because sometimes it seems that it's hard to understand sometimes, but it helps if you already know C++, at least C, because there are many snippets of C in this book. So if you have some C background, then it is easy, I think, to read this book. So yeah, so the operating system is one thing, and another thing that I want to learn about is, let's see, what else? So when I say I will be creating low level projects, so it will be related to, mostly related to operating system. Like I won't take the project of creating an operating system. That's a big fucking project. I can't take it right now. it will just mess me. But I can create some sub components of it, like say create a file system. I think, wait, this guy, this one, Andreas, he followed the same approach as well. So he didn't start creating the operating system from the day one, like he said that I'm going to create an operating system. No, he just said that he created an file system first. I think he had. So he already had built up the components of this operating system, and he built components. And after he had some components like emulator and so on, then he said, let's just start let's just build a operating system. The topics like OS compilers, assembly, and machine languages. Are you talking about the book OS compilers? Are you talking about the book or the Nando Tetris goals in the Nando Tetris book? Yeah, right. I mean, I've not read the book. I'm doing the Coursera course, as I told you earlier. But yeah, it does mention all of these things as well. I mean, OS compiler. See, I mean, when we try to create trying to create a computer from scratch, these things are the essential things, right? Compiler. So you need a compiler to, if you're creating a new language of your own, and so on. Yeah. All right. So see, hybrid approach. What else? Yeah, we know there are 3 approaches to learning. Hybrid approach is kind of a middle one. I understand. Yeah. So I think, at least for me, the challenge is what kind of projects should I build and how do I get the idea? So yeah, let's write the question. What kind of projects? Because one thing is clear that we won't learn programming if we don't build projects, right? That is the most important thing. We have to build the projects to get good at programming. So the next challenge is what kind of projects to create, right? And how to get ideas. I think at least I struggle with this question a lot. How to create project, what kind of projects to create, and how to get ideas. Right. And another thing is, what languages should I focus on? Yeah, this question comes up when you are trying to learn programming a lot. At least everyone who has started learning programming has asked this question once at least. What language should I learn, right? And that comes another question, that should I stick to learning one language at a time or learn multiple languages parallelly? Is there a word like this, parallelly? I don't know. Simultaneously, I think simultaneously is a better word than multi-language. So for instance, what kind of projects to create? Do you create projects out of things you are interested in, or do you create program projects to help people? Like, that's my struggle, but it's out of interest. Yeah, so I have struggled with that specific question as well. So that's when I say that I struggle with this question of what kind of projects to create, what usually happens is, see, I'm in a mindset that if I'm thinking about project ideas, I try to think about, ideas which will be helpful. But what really happens is that, drink some water. You might come up with some ideas, let's say, but what happens is you try to second guess the ideas, and you think, is this a good idea? Should I work on it? Are people going to use it? And that's kind of question. I mean, to help people, programming projects to help people. And the other aspect of it is, let's say I don't create that kind of projects which will be helpful for people, but I create projects, which might not be helpful for people, but at least I will learn programming by creating those projects, right? But in that case, what happens is that I find all the ideas very much, totally trash. Yeah, it's kind of hard to think about projects that are helpful. Yeah, I know exactly how it feels when you are only thinking of the ideas. But what happens is you try to shoot each and every ideas. You say, nah, this is a very, so you get excited initially. You think that, yeah, this is a good idea. But when you think about it for few minutes or few hours or something, you say, nah, this doesn't really interest me that much anymore. So you kind of get into this loop of, get stuck in this loop. So I think these are two loops in while we are learning programming. One is tutorial hell, which I know how to get out of now, but other loop, the other rut is this one where we are stuck into, just hopping between different ideas, and actually not even creating those ideas. Like, yeah, right. Helping. And when I'm stuck in this loop, I'm definitely not helping myself. I mean, that's one of my struggle, and I think that's why I'm not getting good at programming at at a pace I should be getting good. I mean, I'm wasting a lot of time thinking about what kind of projects to work. I mean, fuck it. I mean, just create a trash project. It doesn't matter. At least you will learn something, right? So that's where this question, where is this? How to keep yourself motivated while learning. What really happens is, let's say you just say that it doesn't matter, I'm just going to create, even if it is a trash project, I'm just going to create it. But what happens is, let me tell you what exactly happened with me. So when I was in this rut before, yeah, so I had this idea of YouTube channel subscription manager kind of web application where I talk to the YouTube API, I fetch all of my subscription. So why I created this why I wanted to create this project is I was I think YouTube doesn't have that kind of channel manager yet. Like you can get a good list of what kind of channels are you subscribed to and unsubscribe them all at a same time, and select some to unsubscribe and so on. So I wanted to create a project for that, and I thought this is a good idea, let's build it. So I said, okay, let's just build it. But what ended up happening is that I ended up abandoning this project. I didn't create the whole project. I just created a front end part of it in Vue. Maybe did I use Vue or React? Yeah, I used React for this project, and I didn't I just ended up abandoning this project. I didn't create it, so I think I worked on it for a few days and I stopped working. It's once you find find things that interest you, like ones that keep your interest in you, keep wanting to learn. Yeah, I mean, that exact thing happened when I was trying to create this project, you know. I mean, uh, what's the right word? I struggled through this project of struggled through creating this project for, I think, for 4 to 5 months, and I didn't ended up abandoning this project. I created what I wanted to create, a full project, and I stuck with this project. I don't know how it happened, but I think it happened because, you know, I had this and so the thinking process was something like this, that after thinking about this project a lot, I thought that this idea that I have is a solid one and people are going to use it. So that kept me motivated to build this project. So, and what happened afterwards is that, you know, I built this project, okay, and it was working. But and after I started marketing this project in some of the forums that I was, you know, involved in at that time, self-directed learners forums, and I started marketing this, and many people signed up for this. But what happened is, if you have used Slack before, this app Slack, it is kind of an app which is, you know, made, it is not made for all people. So it is quite complicated to get how to work with Slack. I mean, mostly I think developers, people use it for developers in the company for project management and so on. But it is quite complicated to understand, and I think the bot that I created for this project was also quite complicated, and the concept was also quite complicated to wrap your mind around. So people didn't, you know, they were just asking me how to use this. I mean, it seems quite complicated. So what happened was I over engineered this project and I added some fancy things, but what happened was it was so much complex and hard to understand that people didn't come back, and they were not using it after once or twice. Yeah, so that's why my motivation got, you know, I was like, fuck it, I'm not gonna work on it anymore. So that's why I didn't work on it afterwards. So that was it. I didn't even, you know, didn't try to maintain this project. So that's how I lost the database. So what happened was I created this project in 2018 and forgot about it after some time, and I didn't even check it, you know, frequently. And I opened this project only, I think, 2 months back, because I had this interview lined up. Not interview, but I had to create a portfolio to show a potential employer. So I thought, why not keep this project as one of the projects of mine? And I came back to this project and I saw that it was not working at all. And when I signed in to the platform where I'm hosting this, Heroku, I figured out that, you know, the company where I was hosting the database moved on to a new company, and they notified all the developers that if you want to migrate the database, this is the deadline. I mean, I was way past the deadline. I lost all the data, and yeah, that happened with this project. It's like I didn't know it was complex. Yeah. I mean, this is usually what happens with, you know, engineers like us. We try to create a project which has so many features we think that will be helpful for people, but most people don't get them because they are too much complex for them. Like the bot I created was, you know, you had to memorize all the bot commands and you had to figure out how to, I mean, I created a help bot to learn how to use my bot. So it was that much complex. I had to create a learn bot, like we have these man pages for ls, how to use ls command. I created this kind of bot for my own bot, so how to use this bot. Basically, it was that much complex, but it was a good idea, I think. And even people liked it, and they told me, I mean, the some of the people that I was talking with at that time say that the idea was good, but they found it was too much complex for them. They couldn't figure out how to use Slack. Right. So there's that. Where was I? Okay, we need to figure out what kind of projects to create and how to get ideas. Good at confusing people. I mean, in what way? Confusing, I don't know. I mean, yeah, if we are confused, if we are confused by ourselves, learn C. Okay, yeah, I have learned C. I know I have worked on some projects on C. Not projects really. So recently only one of my friends reached out to me, and his friend, a friend of friends, he wanted to pass his C language examination for his university, and I had learned some C during my university. So he asked me, and I said, okay, I mean, I will pass the examination, just give me the. So I also did his assignments. They were good assignments. I mean, I did some assignments and I gave the examination as well, and I think he passed the examination. Do projects using C. Yeah, I mean, I'm planning on doing low level projects. So for low level projects, I'll be using C as C, or I'm also planning on learning C++. So I'll be using C++. There's also Rust as well, but I think it will get much more complicated if I try to learn Rust as well right now. School assignments are completed. No, I mean, yeah, that's what I think. I mean, they are not that much good. I mean, in my university, we didn't have good projects at all. But this university where this guy that I helped to pass the examination, where he is, they have good projects. I mean, I like the projects, the assignments they were assigned. So let me see if I can show the code on. Scripts. Yeah, I think it is inside scripts. Stego. So one of the projects was bit manipulation. So I had to take one image and I had to take another image, and I had to take the bits of this another image, and I had to. So it is called steganography. Don't know if you guys have heard about this, but let me Google it out. Steganography is the technique of hiding secret data within ordinary non-secret file. So the project was where I had to create a program in C where I had to hide one image file into another image file. So it involved a lot of bitmap in manipulation and so on. So it was a good project. I mean, I learned a lot by doing this project. And another one was C and Sun. Yeah, so another one was this garage. So I had to create a garage kind of thing where I had to store information like vehicles and their price and what year they were manufactured in. But the limitation was, for this assignment, I couldn't use the struct. I had to use just an array, I think. for this data structure. So I had to do the bit manipulation and work with different bit lengths. So I learned a lot doing this projects as well. So I think these two projects were good this assignment. I mean, we never had this kind of good projects in my university. Talking about anything connected to me. Yeah, but if we are confused in ourselves, we only end up confusing other people as well. If we are confused ourselves, that's what we pass on to other people, right? I've heard of it. Oh, it's a cryptography concept, steganography. When you learn about cryptography and stuff, this concept comes up. So the source code. Oh, all right. So let me show you the source code for Stego. Let me find. Okay, so this is the source code. I had to create this function test hide in image, and so I had to create two functions, one to hide the image and another to extract the image as well back from that image where I stored the other image. So I had to create another function for that as well. So test hide in image, I used yeah, this is the source code. And the specific let's see, hide in image. So this function hide in image is the meat of all this program. So is this, where is that function hiding? So see, this is the meat of the program where we do some masking and stuff. So there were instruction given that where I need to store the image at what particular bits I needed to store. So I had to store the second image in such a way that when we after doing the combination, when if I open this image which contains another image, it doesn't you can't tell the difference between the image without embedded image and with embedded image. It just looks same. So the instructions were like that we have to store the bits of second image at specific bits only. So it's more of a human perception kind of thing. So I mean, yeah, you get the idea, right? So yeah, I worked on this C project. So before working on this project, I had not used C for, I don't know, I mean, I used C in my first year of computer engineering, and after that I didn't use C at all. And when he gave me this project, so yeah, so this is one of this example of this approach of learning, this top-down approach of learning. Because when he gave me that project, I was not sure how to, I mean, he gave me the instructions that you have to create this kind of functions. I had no idea how to create this, because I knew some basic syntax of C, but I didn't know how to do bit manipulation. I didn't know how to know what is masking, how to work with the bits and so on. So still I said, okay, I will do it. And I told him that I don't know it yet, but I'll figure it out. And he also knows that I can do this stuff and I can learn it. So I took it and I figured out everything, and I just Google it that how to do bit manipulation and see how to use pointers to manage. I mean, I knew the concept of pointers, but I had not worked with it that much. So, and I learned a lot of C syntax. And another other thing that I learned by doing this project is not this one, the second project. Let's see. There go. Mm. Not this one. It's the yeah, it was this one, bitmap only. Stack bitmap final. So when I started doing this, I had never come across this syntax in C. What is pragma pack and pragma pack 1? What the hell is this? I had no idea what it was. So I mean, I was given the stub file of this one, so this syntax was already there. I only had to figure out the logic for the function, but I didn't know what this code did. So I had to figure it out. I googled this stuff and I learned that it is basically how the structures are assigned memory and what this does and how this memory for this different variables are assigned. And when we do this, it there's this concept where padding is assigned between the variables, and if we write the syntax, the compiler doesn't assign the padding. And yeah, it was basically, I mean, I can't explain it right now clearly because I don't have a concrete understanding of it, but I know now that there's something like this in C now. So yeah, that's the thing I learned after doing this project. So let's see, let's figure out, let's approach another question now. What kind of projects to create and how to get ideas? So after doing this approaches, after reviewing the approaches, I think the question is, or the conclusion is, that hybrid approach is the good one, right? So, and for the hybrid approach, I think the key point is this one: you have to have a specific goal in mind, a project that you want to create. So that's where now when learning programming, we have to figure out what kind of projects do we actually want to create. So let me write, what kind of projects do I want to work on? So personally for me, I want to do low level stuff, right? But as I said earlier, it's hard to get a job doing low level kind of stuff when you are just a beginner. So for that, I think you have to do some web development or other development jobs which are easier to get, like mobile application. But I'm not interested in mobile application as well. So when you think about what kind of projects I want to work on, you need to figure out what areas of programming should I call areas of programming? Yeah, what kind of areas of programming I'm interested in, right? So that's the key thing. I mean, let's say someone starts learning programming initially and they don't know what they are interested in. I mean, it's not very much important to know exactly what you are interested in. because you can learn general programming. So when I say general programming, what I mean by that is, I think if someone doesn't know what kind of area they want to program. Hey Lamjaka, hello, how are you? So suppose someone says that they are new to programming and they don't know what kind of projects or what kind of programming they would like to do, but they know one thing, that Florent Pop app ideas. Oh, thanks for the repo link. Let me check. So I was saying that, yeah, if someone doesn't know what they're interested in, they should just learn Python, because if one thing they are sure about is they want to learn programming and they like the aspect of programming, the problem solving aspect of it, I should say, or I'm of the opinion that that person should start learning Python first, because that's the easiest language to learn, and they should just do this programming puzzles. And I think this website is good for that. So that they should focus on drilling down on the fundamental aspects of programming, like variable and arrays and loops and so on. That's what they should first focus on if they are not sure about what kind of programming they should do. But let's say they are, I know about myself that I like low level or programming which involves a lot of logic, where I have to think about the algorithms or the system in creation. Let me open the link, that data they've said. Okay, app application ideas. Oh, this is a good repository. Intermediate projects, advanced projects. These are mostly, I don't know, web projects or something. At least the beginner projects are, or not. We can create a Python. Yeah, JS based. Yeah, they're mostly JS based. I mean, if someone wants to do, if they are sure about, they want to do web application development, and this kind of projects are good. So for those kind of people, at least they are sure that they want to do web development, right? They're sure about one thing. So if they're sure about this thing, then it becomes easier to figure out a path for learning. But for someone like me who is unsure about what kind of projects he should, I mean, I'm sure that I like doing some programming projects which has a lot of logic, like backend programming or low level programming. So I think at least that thing is clear to me. And I really hate front end. So you should, because I think that is the key thing. If you don't even know what kind of programming you are interested in, you won't be able to think about the project ideas that you want to build. I mean, you can figure out what kind of projects you are interested in. It's not like, yes, I think still this is one of the steps that you need to figure out areas of programming I'm interested in. And after we have figured out, let's take my example. So for example, let's say I figured out that I like low level system programming. And but there is this caveat that I need to learn some backend web development as well. Why? Because turns out there are no beginner level or junior level jobs for low level systems programming stuff. So it's very hard to get that kind of job, and but it is easier to get a web development job. And I'm not really interested in front end, so that's where the backend part comes. So for example, I'm interested, so I have a specific focus, low level and backend. So where do I go from there? Right now, let's see. That's where this question of what languages should I focus on comes, right? I mean, there are specific languages for specific use cases. So if I'm interested in machine learning, say, so I think it is pretty much clear that you have to learn Python, right? You can't get away without using Python. It is like a industry standard to use Python for machine learning projects. So at least if you are clear about machine learning, then you know that you have to learn Python. But let's say for if I want to do backend web development, figure out what languages to learn. So if I want to do backend web development, the decision is a bit complicated because there are many languages for backend web development. There's JS. You can use JS as Node.js for the backend. You can use Python, and in that also there are different frameworks. I mean, even if you choose a particular language, let's say I pick Python, then I will have to figure out what framework should I focus on. Should I focus on Flask? Should I focus on Django? And so on. So Fast API, there's Fast API, I think, and there are many frameworks. And for the JS, the space is too much saturated. I mean, there's so many frameworks and libraries to learn. People get overwhelmed. I know I got overwhelmed when I was deciding what to pick for my so figure out what languages to learn. And if I talk about low level stuff, there are, I think, can't get away without learning. You can't get away learning. I have to learn C at least. That is kind of a de facto language for system level. Assembly, I mean, it helps. If you want to get good at low level system level programming, you have to learn assembly. If you want to get a pro at pro level, because I mean, see, for assembly the thing is, it is tough. The thing is, you won't be using it much for projects, but people usually use assembly when they want to optimize something, like say graphics library or something. If they are trying to create a game engine, I think they might be using some assembly for that to optimize the graphics or something. But it is pretty much tough. I mean, even to write a simple if else statement or a loop, you have to write very much complex logic for that in assembly, and you have to create labels. You have to jump to different labels. I mean, and you will work with different registers, and there are different registers, and you will have to learn what kind of what flags are. So to get conditional functionality like greater than, less than, you will have to use the flags. You have to do some mathematical manipulations and so on. So when you dive go deep into this kind of stuff, go low level, the logic starts, getting complicated. So that's where, people say that another thing that people are worried about is, should I be good at mathematics to, learn programming? But I don't think it is necessary. But if you don't like mathematics, I'm of the opinion that you should not learn low level stuff like assembly, because at the end, assembly in all of this algorithm is mathematics, right? So if you don't like mathematics, don't do. You can have a good career without knowing the low level stuff. And if you are doing web development, you don't have to have a good mathematical mind. You can work as a front-end developer, and you can even work as a back-end developer. What is back-end development? It is basically creating APIs, CRUD apps, right? Create, read, update, and delete. And those functionalities can be achieved without knowing the algorithms. That is what separates from software engineers, people who call themselves software engineers, and web developers. So if you learn, these two terms are used very much, they are vague terms, but according to me, I think people who learn algorithms and stuff, data structures and algorithm, they fall into category of software engineers. They can call them software engineers, but all you know is just creating CRUD apps, and you don't know how to create an algorithm for, let's say, sorting algorithm and so on, then I don't think they are web developers. Yeah, they can create a web app, but they're not really software engineers. That's my opinion, at least. I don't know, it may be wrong, but it helps me to think about it in that way. And if you look at the job descriptions for FANG companies, they are looking for this kind of engineers. So that's why they have this data structure and algorithms as one of the requirements. And they don't specifically ask for a particular language. They just want you to know one language out of some language that they support, and they want you to be good at problem solving. So I think algorithmic understanding is kind of problem solving. I don't know. And yeah, that's that. So let's see, what kind of projects do I want to work on? I need to figure out what areas of programming interested in, and figure out what languages to learn. So let me write the languages. Say, for example, for low level, I need to learn C and C++, and one of the language that is in popularity right now for low level stuff, system programming, is Rust. And for backend, let's say there are languages like you can use Node.js. Yeah, let me write Node.js, even though it is not a language. Backend for Node.js, there's also Python and C#, Java. What else do we have? Go. Yeah, Go is another language. There are many languages, but these are the popular ones which are usually used for the backend development, right? Node.js, Python, C#, Java, Go. Yeah, sure. I'll see you then. Good night. Have a good night. See you tomorrow. Figure out what languages to learn. Okay. So once you have figured out, I mean, should we think about what language to learn a lot? I mean, I got stuck in this loop as well, like analysis of what languages. I mean, I want to get, want to select the best language. I mean, is there a best language? I don't think so. So if I'm doing, let's say, low level, C is kind of a must. So does that I need to learn C, but out of C++ and Rust, I think C++ is kind of an old language, so it has become an industry standard for low level stuff. So I mean, Rust is good and all. You don't have to manage your memory. I think it has its own garbage collector. I don't know. It is safer than C and C++, but you mostly C++ and C is usually used for low level right now. It is kind of an industry standard. So I'm better off learning C and C++. And for the backend, this is where the shit comes. All of these languages are used. JavaScript is used for the backend. Python is used as well. C#, Java, Go, all of these languages are used as backend languages. Yeah, I forgot the PHP as well. I mean, it's a terrible language. I've not really worked with it. But I think it is also being used. I mean, mostly in the legacy system. PHP is used, right? And should we focus on figuring out the best language? I don't know. Maybe we should just pick one and just start doing. And it's not like we are stuck with one language, even if we don't like it. I mean, see, the thing is, if we learn JavaScript, let's say initially, it's easier to switch languages afterwards if you have your basics down. So we shouldn't waste time. So yeah, that I think I should write this point. We shouldn't waste a lot of time figuring out the best language that we should learn. You should just pick one and learn it, right? I mean, see, if you want to do full stack development and you want to do front end as well, you have to use JavaScript. There's no way you're going to do front end without JavaScript. So it's better if you use Node, if you learn Node.js as well. So if you're going to do front end, then it's good to focus on JavaScript, because you can use it for the backend as well and for the front end as well, right? So those kind of people where they are clear that they want to do full stack, they should stick with JavaScript. And let's say for me, I don't want to do front end. For me, I think, and I have been using Python a lot lately, so for me it makes sense to stick with Python. And yeah, so after this thing I need to figure out, need to pick, let's not say figuring out, let's say need to pick a framework, right? So I've been using Python, so it makes sense to use Python for the backend. So after that I need to pick a framework. So let's say mostly in the industry, most of the job requirements are for Django, right? So it's good if I pick Django. It's mostly widely used, but it is a difficult framework to learn compared to Flask, right? So need to pick a framework. Let's say we have picked a language and we have picked a framework. We know what we want to work on, what kind of areas we want to focus on. We have picked the language and we have picked the framework. Now what? So there are different stages. See. The stage is, let's say someone is just a beginner and they don't even know, they have not really worked with this language before. For them, approach will be somewhat different. But if that person has worked with a language before and they are planning to learn a different language, I think the approach differs. So yeah, we'll talk about it, but let me take a break. 1 minute, I gotta pee. I'll be back. Right back. Alright, so I was saying that after we have done these three things, we need a approach now to, you know, what should I say? Pass the different levels of your skill. So how to go from now beginner to, good enough. How to get good at programming, that specific area of programming. So I was saying that if someone is just, so in my case, for low level stuff, I have used C before, but I have not used C++. So what should I do really? I need to know the basic syntax of C++, right? I need to know how to write at least what kind of arrays I can create, what kind of I think I need to know the object oriented part of it as well, C++, but that is specific to C++. So someone is doing backend development, they might not need to know object-oriented approach initially. It helps, but not initially, right? So just that. But yeah, so if we approach it using the hybrid approach, it says that 80% should be practice and 20% should be theory. Now the theoretical part should only contain the things that I should, that
I found this on the web.
Okay, sorry, my Google assistant came up, maybe because I said something. Okay, so I was saying that, yeah, 20% theory and 80% practice. What should be the theoretical aspect of it? I mean, we should learn only the things that we need exactly at that point. So let's see. I mean, if I'm going to learn low level stuff, I need to, and I'm going to use C++, I need to know the basic syntax of it, right? So I should say it should have its own how to approach the learning. What should I say? How to approach? What are the steps? Yeah. What are the steps that you need to take after you have selected a specific area of interest in program? So see, yeah, I mean, if someone doesn't know a specific area, they don't have really a specific area of interest, as I said earlier, they should just learn Python. It's kind of a generic language. They can use it for many different kind of things. They should just learn Python, and they should first learn the basic concepts of programming. And I think this course is good enough. It will teach you how to think algorithmically and so on. They should do this course, and they should not just focus on this course. Parallelly, they should after they have learned some basic syntax of Python, they should try, I mean, at least that's what I do. That's what I did when I was learning Python. Start doing this programming puzzles in Python. I mean, these are not beginner friendly, I think. Maybe they are, but yeah, there are many beginner friendly programming challenges that they can start working on. So the key thing is just start practicing it, right? This is for the person who doesn't know what they are interested in. But someone who has an interest, let's say low level, like me, who has low level or backend development, what should they do now after they have picked this thing that you need to take after you have selected a specific area? Yeah, right. Let's see. Watch a crash course on crash course of that particular language. So suppose, let's say I'm trying to learn low level development, right? So, and I'm trying to learn C++. I won't be able to create projects in C++ if I don't know the basic syntax of it, the idea behind it. So, but I should not buy a course which is, I don't know, 2 to 3, which will take 2 to 3 weeks to take, and so on. So what usually my approach is, watch a crash course. Crash course is kind of course which is, maybe max 4 hours or 5 hours long. Maybe let's say it is 10 hours long. Usually the crash course for C++ languages, they are long because C++ has many different concepts. But yeah, for Python, crash courses are just 2 to 3 hours long. I mean, at least for the basic part of Python. Watch your crash course and just 2x through it. 2x through it. And don't try to, I mean, at least that's what I do. I don't try to, replicate the code. I just 2x through the crash course. That way I just, soak like a sponge all the syntax. I mean, I don't really soak it, but I get the feel of it, like how that particular language is, what kind of idea. I mean, it helps. This kind of approach helps if you already have some, you already know another language. You have worked in another language. This kind of approach works for that. So after I watch a crash course, what do I do after that? So now I know that I have a feel of that particular language. What should I do after that? Now I need to use that language, right? Need to use that language. So for that I can use that language in 2 ways. First is do programming challenges in that length. That's one approach. And another way I can use that language is create projects. Just start creating projects in that language. Second approach is most exciting one, at least for me, but first approach works as well. Do programming challenges. So I can see, if you are not high on motivation and you are not really, don't really know what kind of projects you want to work on, and you just, you want to take it lightly. So in that case, this one doing programming challenges in that language is good. It is good enough initially, but yeah, later on you do need to create the projects. I mean, that's how we get good at programming. Yeah, that's what I started this stream with. So the goal is to get good at programming, right? And we won't get good at programming without doing projects. Okay, so is anybody watching my stream or not? I mean, it shows that I do have viewers, but if you are, I mean, I just want to make sure that I'm just not, blabbering by myself. If someone is watching, just say hi, or maybe it will be helpful if you give your input as well, because I'm not saying that I'm an expert. I'm just trying to think this for myself, so it will be helpful for me as well if you can give your input, if anybody is watching, for that matter. If not, that's all right. So yeah, I need to use that language. Okay, the first task, this challenge where we have to do program challenge is easy, somewhat easy. I mean, you don't have to think about it a lot. I mean, you just sign up for one of this kind of website where they provide you with programming challenges, and you try to solve it. I mean, the approach you use is just Google the syntax. I mean, you're just starting, you have just started learning this particular language, right? So you don't know how to do even though you watch the crash course, you won't know how to do it exactly. You will have to initially, we need to Google each and every particular syntax. So we would have to Google out, even though we watch the crash course, we will need to Google, how to, let's say, how to create an array in that particular language, and what are the methods we have for string manipulation. I mean, how to concatenate two strings, how to get a particular character of. So these are the kind of things that you would have to do, you will need to do while you are doing this project. So most of the projects involve string manipulation and so on. So we'll need to figure out what methods are available in that particular language. So yeah, that's that for this first use case. So to approach, but this second approach is quite complicated one. Create projects, so it it involves a lot of other questions. Now, what kind of project should I create? How do I get the ideas for that project, right? How do I approach the creation of those projects? Those are the kind of challenges that we face when we try to create projects. And another thing is, I mean, we might feel that we are not, what's the word? I keep on stumbling on this word. What is inferior? What's that word? Inferiority complex, or what's that? Programmers. Looking for the specific word. Imposter syndrome. Yeah, that was the word I was looking for. Imposter syndrome. Yeah, so when it comes to creating projects, we feel that I'm not good enough to create this project. I don't know enough to get started on creating this project. So I think, what's the solution for this? Maybe we should, if that is the case, maybe we should work on a simple project. Maybe we should pick a, see, let me write down the exact approach. Okay, creating projects. That let's see, what kind of projects. Questions are, what kind of projects should we create? That is first question. Second question is, and we need to, the first question involves everything. How do I pick a particular project? Why am I stuck? Creating projects, right? What is the first step? for creating projects. I need a project idea, right? That's the first thing. I need a project idea. If I don't have a project idea, what am I going to work on? That's the first thing. Now, how to get this project idea, and what kind of project idea should we work on? Should it be a complex one? Should it be a super easy one? Should it be, the usual generic project ideas like, to-do list? That's a stupid idea. I mean, everybody is making a to-do list. That's not really a good idea. I mean, yeah, at least I don't find it that much, interesting. Wait, so I think this another approach that I forget. Need to use that language. We can, contribute to open source project. That is the third way by which we can use that language. And I think it is a good way as well. We'll get the feel of, working on but I think personally I find this approach, I mean, until now I have not really contributed to any open source project, so I find this approach very much intimidating. I mean, and what really happens is, the open source projects are such that they are, they are really structured in a particular way. And if you have learned a particular language through a crash course, what happens is you might know how to use that language in a particular, just say, let's take Python for example. You might know how to run and write Python code in just a single script and run it. But when you look at this open source project, they are not really structured. They are structured in a particular way. So they might contain, documentation. They might contain make files, install scripts, requirement scripts, and I don't know, maybe Docker and Kubernetes, and I have no idea about this stuff. But this open source projects contains a lot of things that you feel intimidated, like where should I start? I mean, how do I figure out what this stuff do? I mean, where should I start reviewing the code? Should I review the whole project to get a feel of what it is doing, or should I look at a particular bug that I need to fix? I mean, yeah, this open source projects has this issues section. Usually that's what people mean by so when I say contribution, we can contribute to open source project in many different ways. Either we can fix the bugs, and we can fix the bugs, we can fix the issues, or we can add some functionality to it. Let me write it down. We can fix bugs, issues, bugs and issues. We can add a feature or functionality to the project. I mean, that we can also contribute to it in a different way. I mean, we can write proper documentation, fix the typos and so on. But I feel that if your goal is to familiarize yourself with languages, fixing typos doesn't, I don't know, I mean, yeah, I mean, you are contributing to the project, that is good, but you won't learn how to use that language by fixing the typos. And personally, I hate doing project documentation kind of things. That's personal opinion, but yeah, in context of learning and using that language, it won't help. These two things help: fixing bugs and adding a functionality or a feature to the project. And I don't really have that much to say about this approach because I'm not contributed to any projects until now. But for creating projects, let's see, and I am personally like this approach a lot. Project idea. So let's see, I need a project idea, right? Now there is the first task. Now how do I find the project ideas? What kind of project ideas should I work on? Oh gosh, I've been talking and talking on since 3 hours. How can I talk this much? It is already 12:30 a.m. Past my bedtime. Should I keep on going? Yeah, let me figure out this final thing. How to create project ideas. Creating projects. Figure out a project idea. Right. So how do I figure out an idea? The challenges are, I get stuck in this thing a lot. Finding a perfect idea to work on. Whatever that is. Personally, that is one of my challenge, figuring out an idea for project and to work on. And see, this kind of repositories are available, right? They give you the project ideas, but let's see, if we follow, the worst thing you can do is follow a tutorial which through which you are going to build a project. You are just passively consuming the code. You are not really learning anything. You are not getting good at programming at all if you are just trying to follow a tutorial and trying to copy the code from the tutorial. It doesn't work. It might work for some people, for it doesn't work for me at all. I get bored easily with that kind of tutorials. It doesn't stimulate my brain that much. See, I have this idea about creating projects that if you are not struggling, you are not learning. When I say struggling, what I mean is you want to do something specific, a task you have that you want to, achieve, but you don't exactly know how to do it. Like you are trying different things and you are just messing around with it and trying to google it out. You just can't make it to work. you are struggling, and that is, I think, 90% of programming is just that, trying to figure out how to do something. So if you are struggling like that, in that way, actually that is where the learning happens. In that scenario, you are, learning the problem solving skills and how to think algorithmically and so on. And you're also learning the key skill, which is figuring stuff out by googling the shit out of it. Googling is, I think, it is a very undervalued skill, but at least, I don't know, 80% of programming is googling, at least for the beginners. I don't know, I mean, pro programmers, they don't, I mean, that there's a misconception that they don't Google. Yeah, so people feel that, if they have to Google, they feel like people will make fun of them or so on. But I think that is the key skill. I mean, don't, at least you just have to admit you don't know it, right? So it's okay to Google each and every specific things out. I mean, if you are doing, see the approach that I'm proposing here, this doing a crash course and just start using that language. I mean, you have not worked with that language for long, right? You are a newbie in that language. So it's definitely the case that you don't fucking know how to do it, how to do something specific in that language. So in that case, you do need to Google the stuff, right? It's not like you know it off the top of your head how to do specific. That's where the concept of memorization comes. People think that they need to memorize all the syntax. No, I mean, why do you need to memorize? I mean, you just have to Google it out. And what will happen is, uh, when you use particular language for a long time, some of the things which are, frequently used, you will memorize it implicitly if you keep on using that particular language. I mean, yeah, repetition is the key to memorization, right? So if you are using some particular function again and again and again, you are going to memorize it by, implicitly. You won't have to say, okay, these are the methods and let me memorize all the methods. That is a very boring approach. Memorization is very boring, and that's what I hate about education system and the bottom up approach. So when you follow this other approach, just in case learning, that's really what uh, they want you to do when you do just in case learning. So just in case, these are the stuff, this is the stuff, these are the methods, this is the syntax, this is the thing, these are the algorithms. Just learn them, memorize them, just in case might have to use them in the future. I mean, that's a stupid thing to do. Why would you just memorize this stuff? Programming is not about memorizing stuff. It is about problem solving and figuring things out on the fly. It is more of a just in time learning thing. You can't say that you have memorized the 100% thing of any particular language or something. There will always be something about which you don't have any idea, and for that you need to research, you need to read the documentation and so on. And so what was I saying? Yeah, the memorization, struggling. Yeah, struggle. Right, so you need a project idea. After that, what? So the question is how to find project ideas. That is one question. Second one is what should be the level of complexity for that for project ideas. What should be the level of complexity for project, right? I mean, see, the thing about complexity is if you pick a super simple, you know, which is there's this thing. Let me see what is called flow chart, not flow chart, flow the optimal experience or something. I don't know the exact term. Yeah, this chart. See, when I was saying that if you're struggling, if you are not struggling, you are not learning. I don't mean struggling in very horrible sense. I mean struggling. When I say struggling, it has to be somewhat challenging. So when we look at this graph, see the y-axis contains it is for challenge level of challenge, and x-axis is for your skills. So where you fall, what is your level of skill, right? So see, if you pick something, if you pick a project which is very much challenging, and at the same time your skills are at the lowest level, this is not really good. See, it will fall into high challenge and low skill. You will feel anxious, you will feel overwhelmed, right? In that case, you wouldn't even know how to tackle that complex project. I mean, there are ways to tackle it, but you will feel a lot of anxiety and you wouldn't even start working on that particular project at all. You feel a lot of anxiety. But if you pick a project which is, very much not challenging at all, and your skills are high, you will feel boredom, the low challenge and high skills, because you'll be like, this is very much below the level of my challenge, that it doesn't even stimulate you, right? You will feel easily bored. Like you will say, I can do this, while driving as well. You will say that it is way below my challenge, so you will feel boredom. In that case also, you will not feel motivated enough to start working on that idea. It will be too much below your challenge level. And there are different levels in I. If you have a moderate skills and low skills, you will feel worry. You will worry about it, but you won't be anxious that much. But you will still feel somewhat worry. And see, this is apathy, low challenge and low skills. Don't really have a challenge. The project is not challenging enough, and the skills, you don't really have skills. You'll feel apathy. I mean, what exactly is apathy? Apathy. Lack of feeling, emotion, interest, concern. Yeah, I think this is key thing, lack of interest. See, let me try to give an example. Low challenge and low. Someone who is not interested in programming at all, right? And if you give him, you tell him just try to print a hello world, he will see he is at the level where he doesn't have any skills, so he don't even know how to do hello world, how to print hello world, and he doesn't have skills, and the challenge is not stimulating enough. I mean, he'll say, what the hell, why should I print hello? That seems dumb enough, right? So he won't feel motivated enough, or he won't feel interested at all. So he will be in the stage of apathy. I think maybe this is a good example of apathy. But when we try to find a project ideas, we should try to see. Let's review other segments of this chart. So you feel the relaxation when the challenge is low and you have moderate enough skills. So the thing is, challenge is low, but your skills are just above the challenge. So your skills are not super high, but your skills are just above the challenge. So in that case, you will say, okay, I can do it. I mean, it's okay. So you'll feel relaxed. And this is the arousal, high challenge, and moderate skill. So if you have a moderate skills and the challenge is high enough, see, you at least have some skills, right? Moderate skills, and you will feel arousal because the idea seems exciting enough to you. Let's say I can build some web application. I'm a good web developer. Let's say I can do front end and back end. Now I say I want to build a blockchain application now. So the challenge for building a blockchain application is high because I have built a web application, but I have never really built blockchain application. So the challenge is high and my skills are moderate. So I might feel arousal. I mean, it depends on person and depends on different people, on their mindset as well. But usually for me, I feel arousal in that case. And that's usually the case. If you have moderate skill and high challenge, you will feel arousal. And this is another thing: moderate challenge and high skills. So your challenge is moderate enough and your skills are high, so you are in control, right? You can just do it. It will be a piece of cake for you, so you will be in control. But this is the sweet spot, the flow state. This is really what the basic premise of this book. So the psychology of optimal, not really premise, but the concept he's trying to describe. So the psychology of optimal experience. This is the optimal experience you can feel, a flow state where the challenges are high enough, and your skill. This is not really challenge is high enough and your skills are high as well. So challenge is such, I think this is not a correct graph, or maybe it is. No, right. So our goal is we should pick project ideas which fall into this category, this segment of the graph, where we either feel arousal. No, wait. Let me try to find a different graph. This doesn't feel good enough. How about this one? I think this one is good enough. Low skills, high, low challenge. Increasing challenge, increasing. Where should we be? So if we are at exactly at this point, our challenges and the skills match perfectly. So if we want to increase the skill, we should just nudge it a bit along this line. Nudge it a bit along the challenging line. I don't really get this graph. Don't know. Okay, so let's not mess around with graphs. So the key idea is the project should be, challenging enough such that you feel interested in it, right? But it should not be that much complex or challenging enough that you feel overwhelmed and you feel anxiety. It should be just 2 or 3 levels above your skills level. So if you're a beginner, don't say pick a, for beginners, any project is good enough. But once your skill starts increasing, you just keep on increasing the level of complexity of your project ideas, right? You start working on complex projects, and that way your skills will be, you will be stretching yourself. And if you get it working, you build the project, it means that you have leveled up your skills. And I think that is the key thing that we need to realize to get good at programming. We need to keep on challenging ourselves, right? So I think that is the key idea. Let me write it down. The project should be, is this the right spelling? Challenging enough to keep your interest and be in flow, but not that much challenging that you overwhelmed. See, I think it will be different for different people. It depends on what kind of mindset they have. So some people are like that they can't handle very challenging projects, and there are people who can handle challenging projects very easily. They can just they just say, I will figure it, even if I don't know it yet, I'll figure it out. They can tackle any challenging project. But usually we should keep this sweet spot in mind, that we can feel motivated enough. Right. Okay, I'm not going to speak for a bit. I've been speaking a lot. Okay, I've been talking since 3 hours 30 minutes. Let me take a break of 1 minute. Sure. You know what I'm thinking? So, right, so I'm doing this stream and I'm thinking this stuff out loud. Is it really helping me? Am I really figuring out how to get good at programming? So what I need to really my goal is, to figure out a strategy to accomplish this goal to get good at programming. So that is the key thing that I want to figure out the answer for, the strategy. And picking a good project is, I think, one of the key things for getting good at programming. And even to get out of the tutorial hell that usually what people fall into. I mean, I fell into that uh, trap as well before, doing courses and courses after one after another and not doing any projects at all. You get stuck into the tutorial hell, tutorial purgatory. I think it is enough for today. I mean, it is past my bedtime. I need to sleep now. And I have touched on some key points today anyway. And I will be doing this in the next stream, continuing from this point, creating projects, because I still don't have the clear pathway to accomplish this goal. I still need to think about how to find project ideas. I thought about this complexity, but how to find project ideas, where to find the project ideas from, and yeah, that's that. So I think this will be the question for next stream. And then this stream was good enough. Okay, alright then. I'll see you guys in the next stream. Have a nice time. And yeah, goodbye.